Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
We want to get into the Uber story because, Joe, this is creating huge opportunities in terms of work once our vets come back.
It does. It creates a very interesting opportunity. And Secretary Gates, you're the chairman of UberMILITARY. I want to know what you plan to do next with this initiative as you plan to employ more veterans. What does the next stage look like here?
Well, I would turn to Emil for that. We appointed this military advisory board of retired senior officers to advise the company, and everyone signed up with enthusiasm. Former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mike Mullen, General Pete Corelli, General Mattis, General Frazier, General McChrystal, and several others, Admiral Eric Olson, and the whole point was to provide advice on how to help Uber reach the veteran community and the active duty community, because they're really trying to help not only veterans, but people who are on active duty who may need a second income and are stationed here in the U.S., or especially military spouses who move from place to place, and it's a perfect kind of position for them because they can pick up where they left off when they were reassigned from New York to California. They can pick up and start driving again. It's just a great source of part-time income for a lot of people, but for a lot of veterans, it's also an opportunity to be entrepreneurial, to build their own business. Some veterans own several vehicles. So what my colleagues and I have placed a premium on is not just getting veterans jobs, it's creating choices for them that comport with their place in life and what their needs are. And what we believe is that Uber is one of those choices that gives them maximum flexibility.
Yeah, and Emil, I don't think it's such a hard sell, right? I mean, from what I've found, when you talk with corporate executives today, they're very impressed with our veterans. I mean, let's face it, a vet will come back from work and they've got massive discipline. They're hardworking. They're very smart. So the characteristics of our veterans today are incredibly well suited for a number of jobs. What was the attraction for you in terms of getting involved?
Well, the attraction for me is I used to work for Secretary Gates at the White House when I did a fellowship there, and I got to spend time with the troops, traveling with him in Afghanistan and Iraq. And what I learned was all they wanted is an opportunity, and they wanted that opportunity to be flexible and to help them make money for their families. So when we got back, and you realized that Uber could be a part of the solution, whether you're coming back and you're transitioning into school via the GI Bill or you're transitioning into another job, Uber was a perfect solution for that in the near term, and it was flexible and they could make money, and they're rated the same or better than other drivers. They drive longer, and they could build their own business on Uber if they wanted to. So all in all, it was a perfect situation of doing well by doing good.
Emil, Uber is valued at more than $60 billion right now. How does a program like this actually add to the bottom line as you spend so much money on other types of initiatives and programs and spend a lot on hiring and expanding as you potentially prepare to go public?
Yeah, the bottom line piece of this, like I was saying, it is good for the Uber business, but more importantly, the reason I personally took this on and wanted to drive this initiative along with Secretary Gates and the Military Advisory Board is because it was doing good for vets, and vets deserve a chance to be their own boss and come back and have the business community appreciate the skills that they've got. And it happens to also be good for Uber because they could deliver great service to the customers that we have.
Yeah, and it's great for the country.
I think one of the great...
Go ahead, Secretary Gates.
One of the great opportunities here, just speaking of the bottom line, and Emil can correct me, but already Uber has put something over $125 million in the hands of vets that's been earned since this initiative started just 18 months ago. That's pretty impressive money.
It sure is. Secretary Gates, go ahead, Emil.
I was going to say that number is directly in their pockets, $125 to $30 million over 18 months, and I think what you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it'll be over $500 million in the next few years. Yeah,
Secretary Gates, I want to switch gears and ask you a little broader about what's going on today for our military. Can you characterize how vets are doing? And really, in terms of the fight against terrorism, it feels like it's getting more complicated with the use of technology. We know that this morning we're reporting that WhatsApp WhatsApp is now going to do, up its encryption. How do you characterize things right now when it comes to the war on terror as it relates to technology?
Well, I think it is getting more complicated. There's no question that our adversaries are more sophisticated, getting access to more sophisticated technologies, and we have to prepare ourselves for the time when we're going to face some of them using drones against us. So it is a challenge, but by the same token, our troops are still in there. We're still working on technologies. I think that the effort to try and contain and then shrink the area that is controlled by the Islamic State is slowly working at a great cost to the civilian population, but it's slowly working. But I think what we've seen in Europe is that clearly the kind of knitting together of security services and closer coordination and collaboration that took place in the United States after 9/11 has clearly got to be done in Europe. So they have some catching up to do, and given the structure of the EU and so on, I'm concerned about how long that will take, and maybe the best venue to do that is through NATO.
What do our troops need right now, Secretary? Putting the idea that our vets need jobs when they come home, what do our troops need right now?
Well, I think first of all, they do need good jobs, and a lot of different companies in America have stepped up to the plate. From Wall Street, I'm on the Starbucks board. Starbucks is committed to hire 10,000 veterans, and there are others as well. But I think one of the biggest concerns is the continuing disconnect between when they leave the service and going into the Veterans Affairs Administration. And I think that this is a continuing problem. It was a problem when I was Secretary. It continues to be a problem. The transition from active duty to veteran status and getting proper service from Veterans Affairs, I think, continues to be a huge challenge for our military. And we obviously also have to continue to work on the post-traumatic stress and mental issues of people who have been in war in many cases now for more than a dozen years.
All right, we will leave it there. Secretary Robert Gates, good to see you, sir. Emil Michael, good to see you as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and congratulations on a great program.